Hello, this is Shirley. I am here to give you my tips and tricks on how to make a souffle. I've prepared a lot of things ahead of time because I don't think you want to spend a half hour watching me make a souffle, but you're probably going to be watching me for 15 minutes. The first thing you do, the recipe I use is found on the internet. It's the Betty Crocker cheese souffle recipe, except for I adjust it to what I've learned works. First, you have to prepare the souffle dish. This is a 6-inch dish. A 6-inch dish is the same as this dish. This is a 6-inch dish. You might have an 8-inch souffle dish. No, we're using a 6-inch dish. You butter the inside and then you cover everything with Parmesan. The way you do that is you grate Parmesan, you put it at the bottom, and then you roll like this so it rolls on the side. And then you put on this little crown for the souffle. To put on the crown, use this type of aluminum foil, Reynolds Wrap non-stick, and have the non-stick side and the inside of the crown. So that's preparing for the making the souffle. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the roux. It's kind of where the cheese is and where the butter is and everything before we make the meringue that makes it fluffy. So let's start by making the roux. I'll be making it over here. To save time, I melted the butter. It's 4 tablespoons of butter. That's a half a stick of butter. Then I take a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour and these spices. I use a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of something called espelette. It's a French paprika. You could use a paprika. A 1/4 teaspoon of dry mustard, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. In fact, I think I forgot to put the salt in. Let's do that now. And the flour is a 1/4 cup of flour, so everything's a 1/4 of something. So now what we're going to do is we have 4 tablespoons of melted butter, and we're going to turn this up to around medium, and then we're going to add the dry stuff. Make sure it all comes out of your little, you don't have to measure it ahead. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm measuring ahead. And then you combine it till it looks like this. It's a nice kind of yellowy color. So then, when you've got that, you're going to add a generous cup of whole milk. I add it slowly. You're going to be very bored for a while watching me thicken this. So while I'm doing that, thickening this, I'll talk about some of the other things that you're going to want. You're going to want to have ahead of time, have shredded 4 ounces, 4 is a theme here, 4 ounces of cheese. I like this cheese. You can use any cheese you want. I suggest a cheddar or an Emmenthal, something hard and strong. And you're probably going to want your eggs ready. I don't have my eggs ready. I'll go get them. I use 3 eggs. I use jumbo eggs. I just think it's perfect for what we're doing. So you stir, 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 stir. You could turn it up a little, but don't burn it. Use a whisk. So I'll talk about about other things because all we're doing is stirring. I'm in Florida today. The weather's beautiful. The sun is shining outside. I have 2 pug dogs watching me cook. I will show them to you. They're very interested. There is Bobo. There's Bella. They like my cooking. Okay, this is starting to thicken. And what you do is, when it thickens and it starts to bubble, you'll see bubbles. You then cook it for a minute. So let's wait for the bubbles. Okay, I'm seeing the bubbles. I'm looking at my watch. We'll do this for a minute. And what I tend to do at this point is, if I think it's too thick, and this is a feel thing, if I think it's too thick, and I always think it's a little too thick, I add just a little bit more milk, but not a lot. A splash of milk. I don't want it gluey. I think it looks pretty nice right now. Okay, I will show it to you. At this point, you take it off the heat. It looks like this. See, it's not too gluey. It still runs. Take it off the heat. You're not going to need that whisk anymore. Now you take your 4 ounces of cheddar cheese and you are going to mix that in. You don't have to be very particular about this because I have had some recipes where you put in a lot of the cheese at the end. The cheese, how you introduce it, isn't going to be that important, but you do take it off the heat. This looks right. So you can see now, it's like this, a little like, I don't know, elastic. If you use Emmenthal, it'll be even more elastic. So we've got that done. Now, the critical part, we're going to separate the eggs so that you have the egg whites in a bowl like this and the egg yolks in another bowl. If you're not comfortable doing this, I understand you can buy some tool that does it for you. Doing something like this kind of doesn't bother me. Three of them, like I said, I use jumbos. If you make this a lot, you'll find that you make mistakes and you put the wrong one in the wrong bowl, but this is the way it should be. And then you're going to introduce into the egg whites a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Now that's not tartar sauce, it's a white powdery thing. Not quite sure what it is, but you put it in. Now we're going to beat the egg whites. Most important, I don't know the trick here, but it seems to work for me. And I don't beat them real high. I think that you can take the lift out. So I put it on about, oops, why isn't this working? Nice. Always something wrong during a demo. I will re-put in my beaters and hope that this isn't the end of my experience here. Okay, my beaters are back in. I think I know what it is. I think we had a power thing going on here. Push that back in, push that back in. Okay. I'm beating egg whites. I have it on mine like a 3.5. And you see the motion I do? I go to the side. Okay. So they look like this. You can make soft peaks with them. Now you've got to beat the egg yolks. The Betty Crocker recipe says to beat them for 5 minutes. That's nonsense. But you do want to beat them a lot, and you want to beat them on high. You're not worried about making meringue with the egg yolks. So I put them all the way up to 5 and do it for about a minute. Okay, this is what they'll look like. They're nice and sort of like a lighter yellow than they started out. So to make it easier, I'm going to do everything right here so you can watch me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these egg yolks into the cheese and flour and butter and milk stuff. And make sure that's combined well. At this point I'm using a spatula. Make sure you have heat resistant spatulas. And this looks good. Here's what the consistency is so you can see. Now what you do is you take a little bit of the meringue. The recipe says 1/3. You don't have to do 1/3, but about that much. And combine it here in this pan. Oh, Bobo's unhappy about something. I think it's that he thinks he's going to get a souffle. Bobo, if you're not nice, you'll go out into the yard. All right, so now this looks like this. But now the trick is you take the meringues and you put this mixture into the meringues. Fold it into the meringues, into the beaten egg yolks. When I'm making this, I make this a lot. I sometimes just put it all in at once. I'm not fussy about this. I'm sure that Julia Child would do it differently, but she's not with us anymore, so you'll have to take my idea. So I fold like this. I fold like this. I don't want to fold too much because if you fold too much, you're going to take the air out of the egg whites, and that would not be a good thing. But it doesn't always, when when you do it, you don't have to have it so it looks like every bit of egg white is fully incorporated either. So just to show you what it looks like this. I hope you can see that. Now, we're going to put it into our souffle dish. Here goes. This is turning out right. If you have this right, you will know it. Because when you have it right, it fills the dish entirely. It goes right to the rim. See how it's right to the rim? Goes right to the rim. Now, we're ready to bake it. I put it in a 350 preheated oven for 1 hour. And I put it on a baking dish in case somehow you have leakage and you have a problem. So put it on, a baking sheet and just put it in an hour. I'll turn on the camera again and show you the product. See you then. Bye-bye.